So we don't need this, this. Okay, so go nice and big for the viewers. Okay, that's the last message I'm going to read. Okay, check the old Twitch. Make sure we're live.
What's the address? Is it just Demo channel?
No, it's not mine. It's through EQ because I'm doing content.
Hashtag content. Okay. Oh, I see it.
Oh boy, no, it's not this either. Where's Equinox? I keep forgetting it's EQ League.
Yeah.
Oh, they're not streaming right now. Well, I believe they are.
I'm watching it right now, so
I'm just talking nonsense. I'm just waiting for a few more viewers to get in. Wait for the notification to go live, then start,
yeah.
You know, that's what I usually do. So yes.
Looks like the title still hasn't updated for me as well.
Yeah, I know. That's through Anita Dillon
Okay.
to do it.
This guy.
It's easier. So we have the beautiful chat. How do you get pop-out chat? I can't remember that. Pop-out. That's the one. Ta-da! So if I go to this, get Twitch chat here.
Oh, there's the thing.
You sound tired.
It's been a long week, mate.
Yeah, tell me about it. Trying to sort my sleeping pattern out for the past 6 days.
Yeah, I'm never able to do it on purpose, so I just have to hope that it sorts itself out for whatever reason.
I slept for like 24 hours. Yeah, the other day.
Jesus.
Yeah, so it was a long one. Don't know, feeling ill, sweats, colds, headaches.
Yeah.
It's a nightmare. But yeah, I'm hoping. Now, is that the EQ going out? Okay, so that's the notification going out. Excellent. Announcements. EQ's on. So, I mean, people are going to be a bit misconstrued with the title.
Yeah.
Even though I did
There's no video games to be found here.
Even though I did message them saying, could you change the title? That would be most helpful. Right, so I hope that gets changed. I've messaged them 2 viewers so far. We'll wait for it to hopefully pick up 3. You can tell me an updated count if it's higher, if I'm just stuck on 3. So, because obviously here at EQ we expect huge numbers, so...
Right. Vast masses
So I forget that
of loyal viewers.
I forget that it is the display capture. Excuse me, a little bit comment. Not really relevant. I'm scrolling through all like crap. 8 viewers now. Okay, now we'll get started. Okay, so welcome to the Playoff Player Power Ranking Review with myself, Demo, and my good guest and fellow caster, CJ. How you doing, CJ?
Doing good today, my dude. I'm excited to run through these players. I know you've already disputed a couple of them with me in DMs, so now we can hash it out live on air.
Well, no, it's always good to pick other people's brains about what's going not wrong, but what's been
So what's gone wrong? I see.
Depends on the point of view. Yeah, so these were done. I mean, I know it's been a little while, and I didn't get a humongous sample size. I did only get 12 people to do it. 12 people I thought that were smart, including myself. Maybe not, but yeah, casters, captains, people in the admin team. Just people that generally I would trust with an unbiased opinion. And it's turned out kind of what I would expect. I mean, maybe not me. I thought maybe I'd be 4th or 5th, but people think, oh, you did the rankings. Oh, it's biased, but no, my brain was nearly melting with the amount of times I had to count. But yes, start off with top lane. nothing new there. With Jack Cream Soda being the top on 108 points. Did you expect anyone else to be top, or is there any one in particular in that ranking you're thinking, oh, I thought this person would be higher?
Nah, I mean, I think Cream Soda as the top is a pretty much a no-brainer.
Yeah.
I think that the fact Igni in general is almost a no-brainer in most positions.
Yeah, true.
But they haven't actually made it the full five, which is interesting to see. But they are, I think they're 19-1 or something right now. Like their record is insane, and Cream Soda is a big part of that. He moves with the meta pretty well as a player. Like he tends to favor meta champions, but he manages to pick up and adapt to new ones when it shifts quite easily. Because the meta has actually shifted a lot, several times over the course of the season, in top lane especially. So I think
Yeah.
he's a very versatile player. He's able to play tanks. He can do bruisers, carries. He can do AP. He can do it. He can do it all. To be honest.
Yeah, true. Yeah, and I mean, it's not always hard when you're ranking because top team's going to have players up at the top, but it's nice to see that some people think Noah's top.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't put Noah top personally, but we'll get to that. We will
Yes,
get
yes.
to that.
I'm hoping that the chat pop-out isn't just like froze for me, and actually people will talk.
It looks fine. So I think that the main thing about top lane that I disagree with this is putting Sabbath a second. I
Yep.
think that Sabbath is, he's just made some incredibly question mark plays, at least especially in games that I particularly am casting.
Mhm.
I think that he doesn't have the level of team play that some of the other top laners do, especially Green Cream Soda and Paka. I think they have very good team play, and I think that Sabbath doesn't really have it. If you ban the Vlad away, I just haven't seen him have the same impact as other players do in that top lane.
Mhm.
And I think it was the latest clip from EQ on the Twitch channel is John Jay and me literally losing our minds over the inability to TP with a Kenanol into a Baron fight after failing to TP all game, and then TPs just after his entire team has been wiped out, then TPs in and dies, and it was the most... Oh, it was not good. So I think that might be coloring my view a little bit, but I've not seen anyone make a single worse play. I think that he is good at Vlad, and he is a decent laner, and he's a decent top laner, but I don't think that I don't think he's a second place.
Fair enough. I mean, yeah, like it's the thing is with the most recent weeks taken into account. That's why I'm surprised it was so high. Okay, because if you're taking the player power rankings, for myself, I expected to be fifth, sixth. Like I've not played fantastically well. I've only recently just changed my playstyle to what I needed to be in a sufficient mid. Instead of hugging my tower or whatever, not applying pressure. So like for Sabbath in particular, he's always been someone that tried to apply pressure within the lane.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like Pykex. I feel like these two players are very similar, where they're very strong in lane, but out of lane they just struggle to seem to make plays. I mean, it's also to do with team coordination because obviously I played with both, and it's not always easy as get a ward, make a TP, make a play.
Yeah.
But yeah, there is an argument that decision making is a big part. So I mean, people might think that Paka's too high because he doesn't necessarily carry a game, but his role within the team is to be, if he's an Arbot on Malphite, if he is playing Kennen, if he's playing Jarvan, he knows his role. That's what makes AMG fundamentally such a good team. And I think a lot of people overlook that. So say the likes of, I know we're talking about ABC, say the likes of Meg Refugee Luke, people think, Severeggio bot, but his role is he's quite happy taking a backseat, farming up, and if he has to carry, he will. But because he's not the big 1v9 carry, he's not rated the ranked number one ED in the league.
Yeah, for sure. I think you're right about Paka. I think he is a player that really does know his role and is able to do exactly what his team needs, considering on how his team likes to play. They're basically, the Noah 4 wards style deal, but like it's not even that they're 4 wards, it's that they're 4 incredibly strong supporting pieces that are able to make their own value as well. I think the Packer's a huge part of that. The fact that he's such a good team fighting player, which means that he tends to pick characters that play into that, like you said, the Malphite and the Kennen Arbots, and then back when Ornn top was still relevant, he played a mean ass Ornn. So
yeah,
and he's the kind of guy who wins lanes with like tanks into bruisers that really shouldn't be winning those lanes.
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree completely. And that's the thing. It's you can't exactly throw bans at him because you have to worry about what control jungler like Pineys is going to get through their game. If mid,
Yeah.
if it was James before and it was Sweetfish, now you've got to think about things like the Vladimir, things like the Zoe, the Silas. The Sweetfish can play even like things like Corky. Bot lane you have Noah who can play, almost any hyper carry AD. He's proven that this whole split. And then do you give them things like Morgana, Lulu, Brom? That's going to get the ED through. So it's like you can't always just think, we take him off this, because there's always going to be another pick. There's going to be something else.
Yeah.
So I think, I was just going to say, I think especially coming to playoffs, it might actually just give them an edge over, a team like Igni, a team like Nox, Vero, Kex, whoever it may be. But when it comes to best of threes, best of fives, it could play a part.
Yeah, I think that it's an interesting discussion over whether having well-known signature champions is a blessing or a curse for your team. I mean, in pick ban, it's the kind of thing that draws free bans. You can expect the Vlad ban against Sojin and Weedfish. You can expect I say you can expect the Vayne ban against Noah. I feel like it doesn't come out nearly as often as I think it should. But you can expect some of these bans, but then you kind of need to be a player that draws that kind of attention. You have to be a bit of a Vayne one trick to draw that kind of attention, and you do need to be able to pull these other things out of the hat once the enemy team wakes up and bans your signatures. And like you say, Packer is someone who you can't really ban out. There's no point trying to levy a ban against the guy unless it's maybe the Kennen. I think that's about the only one that it's worth doing that could have some sort of reasonable impact on a game. Everything else, like he's got another tank that can do the same job. He's got another bruiser that can do the same job. So I think that he's a huge boon for his team in that way, and that's why I think he definitely deserves at least third. I put him second myself, but I think third is a reasonable placing for him on this rank, for sure.
I think so. You get people like Alpern, Ari, Trapman, arguably could be higher as well. I think Alpern was like a really good carry when he was playing in CL. Haven't seen much from the split. Ari's pretty good. I mean, he's shifted from roles. I know that.
Yeah, I'm not sure where Artie is at this point. I'm not sure how to rank him and what role I'm supposed to rank him in, or just put him at seventh in every position, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, Jack Cream Soda rates Trapman really highly. Thinks he pressured him all in lane.
Yeah.
Maybe he could be an argument, but I think for things like Novus, Velchaos, he's the Nox top winner, I believe. Novus hasn't really played much, been on sub on Veno and FR, so it's like some players haven't had obviously the game time, especially in the bottom four, which is why you probably see them there, right? So I think that plays a part.
I think that Pykex is there's an argument to put Pykex lower down. I think I do think that he having the Pykex Kled is the strongest signature champion I've ever seen in the amateur scene over 2 or 3 years. I've never ever seen a player with a champion that will literally instantly win the game if you let them pick it. And the game that he played in EQ, I think the one time he got it when he went 22 and 1 or some nonsense it was not pretty. And oh my god, you just having a champion like that, even you get a signature champion going back to Sojin's Vlad, for example, he's really good at that champion, but Pykex takes over a game like no one else. So I think that's why he's gotten up there, just because the actual residue, the impact that he leaves on people when he's allowed to do his thing. And even if you take the Kled away, he's, like you say, a very respectable player. He likes to pressure lane a lot, and he's able to hold his own. But goddamn, I think that it is the shadow of the Kled that has pushed him up to 4th on this ranking. There's an argument maybe to be 5th or 6th, I think.
True. I think a couple of players, especially there, have the potential to be up, top 2, 3, 4. It's just about consistency and how you're using your brain. What vision you have if your jungler's playing on the top side, bot side. It's a lot of it comes into play. But speaking of pressure, moving on to jungle, of course we see Ventum as number 1. From what I've heard,
another no-brainer, I think.
From what I've heard, I mean, presumably mechanically the same, if not better than Yosh when he was there. I've heard he's very, very vocal, very communicative with his team, kind of cold on Splice and Origin. How he like will always track the enemy jungle while being proactive as well. It's a similar
Yeah.
thing for Ventum. Look at that feel, that vibe. Would you? Is there anyone, again, same questions before? Is there anyone here thinking that you think is too high, too low? You know, any dark horses there?
I mean, this one actually mirrors my own very closely. I think that received is quite high there, in my opinion. But I mean, it's actually really tough to split all the way from pretty much from Pineapple, all the way through down to like Mr. Luscious. For me, is really quite close from the games that I've seen of these players, and I think that this order is roughly correct, but I think that Trelexi, I guess, should be a bit higher.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe swap him and received, but that's about as much as I can say for absolutely certain, is that I would put Trelexi above received. But like trying to split Charlie and Wayne M and Pineapple is super tough for me. Like
Yeah.
they play, Wayne M and Charlie play a little more similar champ pools, I guess.
Yeah.
But Pineapple has demonstrated that he is able to pull out these like other more normal champions if you ban his Zac away. The Wayne M Kha'Zix is obviously very terrifying, and the Lee Sin as well, and then Charlie just on that J4. I think that's something that's really important for these junglers specifically, is that when Rek'Sai became buffed and came back into the jungle, Wayne M and Charlie just got like an absolute free extra pick into their arsenal, because that champion plays so similarly to the ones that they were favoring really heavily, that they absolutely should have jumped on that. And as far as I know, they did. Like, they were causing a huge amount of pressure in games and in pick ban off the back of this Rek'Sai that is such a strong strong jungler now. And I don't know. I think that it just plays really well into their styles. And Received and Trelexi, Mr. Luscious, they all. I think Mr. Luscious and Trelexi definitely at least played that Rek'Sai a couple of times, but weren't able to get as much value of it. I mean, it felt like a little bit of a, where are my solo lanes when I'm trying to win the game? Please, can you all just stop dying for 1 second kind of situation? But yeah, I think that basically what I'm trying to say is I think the jungle is really close. I think the Ventum is at the top, but he's not super far ahead of everyone else. He's notably far ahead, but he's not in a different league. And I think that pretty much the rest of the junglers, apart from maybe G1 Act, rip, but they've all got arguments for being higher and or lower depending on how you just personally view their playstyles.
Yeah, and I agree. I was going to ask you to break down individuals with me, but yeah, no, that's a pretty good summary. Honestly, of the junglers, I think that Pioneers obviously again is a great support to his team. Things like Zac Trundle, Charlie is the same. I've seen him play Zac. He's good on the Jarvan. We've seen him get Queso ahead. I was looking on his Incarnation, on the Yasuo. Wayne, obviously, I know very well playing with him. He's fantastic on early game junglers when he's really in the groove. Lisa and Kha'Zix, things like that. And I presume Rek'Sai will be in the wheelhouse now. And Joe as well. He's very, very good in Sejuani. Probably the best Sejuani in the league. I mean, I don't know if it's not quite, maybe not the best thing in the world, but I remember seeing him get a fantastic prediction on the Ezreal E. I think it was who was playing that is.
I think that I guess the two things that would justify cementing Pineapple and Charlie as second and third above the rest is that I don't see other junglers have quite as much ability to lead their team in team fights. Obviously I don't know what the comms are like, but these are two players that are making excellent decisions of when to start and engage fights for their team. And there's never a point where you they can't find a fight, or because these players are going to be the ones going in and finding the angles, especially when Pineapple gets Zac and Charlie as well, and then the J4 coming in with the Cataclysm like this. They have very strong champion pools for starting these fights, and they never hesitate to do so, and they're very good at setting up their own team for success when they have teams that like to play around hyper carries. I think that's what benefits their teams a lot, having players like that.
And I just see the chat bounce was the AD carry back on top for that predict, so fair enough. Takes quite a man to
He's
not
a
his
bit, I
mistakes.
respect
Fair
that,
play.
Yeah. So
that.
but I think that's pretty much it. Like, I think that the junglers in general, I wish they all had just slightly more points across the board, because I think it's a lot closer than the points make it out.
Yeah, this was definitely the one that was most far apart.
Yeah.
from like 80, 70, 50, 40. It was definitely the
Yeah.
the biggest drop. It was obviously to do with consistency of what people voted. You see
True.
mid, you see all the way down to 94, 86. It's quite close. There's only a few people marginally moving over. But no, I
Yeah.
agree with that. I mean, mid's probably the biggest one I disagree with.
Yeah.
Just for myself, where I am.
I
And
think
where,
mid is very difficult to call for this league, especially when there's players who have had very limited or variable play times, and then on different teams, and
yeah,
I don't know. I think it's definitely hard to rank some people. You've got to factor in how much you've seen of them, how consistent they are, which some players you just don't have the data to make a call like that.
no, you speak of that. We do, fortunately enough, have the data. So if you look at mid, let's see. So, because we were just going over that. So mid for me, I've only had 3 games, right? 12-3-12. You think, oh, quite good performances so far, right? But it's so very few and far between. I haven't played that many games. Yes, they look good, but it's such a small sample size. You get someone like Axel that's played 9. You get 47, 18, and 58 with nearly a 10 KDA. So it's like, oh wow, it's
That's
really good.
insane.
And then you get, let's see, so Queso 4 games, 19, 15, and 8. You think, that's a lot of deaths for 4 games. Arguably, could you put him lower? Could you put him higher? Aiden 30, 33, 45. Again, a lot of deaths in the 8 games he's played. He might be doing a lot for his team. MHG 28, 21, 39, 47% KP. Game time, 2 to 57, one of the highest in the league. So a lot of people with 1s, 2s, 3s like myself. So it's quite hard to rank in a way. Certainly when I was ranking it, I was going off what I think overall. But for a lot of people, it could quite easily be what they think now. So, Weedfish could be number 2, 3, number 1 in some people's eyes from how he's playing in SQ1. I hear he's playing very well at the moment. And especially when you've got things like Vlad, Silas, Zoe, things that are really strong, he could be a strong contender, right? So that's someone else to look out for. Zolertis had a really good performance on the Yasuo, so has Queso.
Maybe the league just hates Yasuo players. See, both
I
the
don't
Yasuo
know.
players right at the bottom there. Get them out of the league.
Could you put MHG higher? James has been very consistent for AMG when he was playing.
Yeah, I think that James especially is someone who might have flown under the radar a couple of times because he tended to just get camped quite a lot, and he doesn't have like a huge lane impact, but he's really good at not losing. And sometimes you just really need to not lose when the rest of your team, and you tend to have these hyper carry ADCs, or you've got these really fighty, team fight or Vlad tops or whatever. Just picking the Cassiopeia, failing to lose, and then hitting some nice ultimates miasmas is just insanely useful when the enemy jungler is ganking you 3 or 4 times in a row. Like, I actually really respect James's play. I think I saw him play Nico a couple times, and I really liked his Nico. And Nico mid is like a bad champion. It's not good, but this guy managed to make what I saw as the best out of a very bad situation that he was put in, and allowed his team to actually have the freedom to go, and they didn't always have to be going, oh shoot, we have to go back to mid lane, he's going to lose his tower, or he needs to get some wards mid. They were able to do their own thing while he was able to stave off that pressure, and I think that was very good.
Yeah, arguably, yeah. Again, top 2, 3, 4. It's weird. Like when I was even thinking of myself, it's like tallying up the points. It's like of my current form, there's no way I'm this high. Is there other things that are coming into factor? But I don't know. It's hard to say really. But now for me personally, I would put myself around 6th, 5th, 4th. That's something like that. I definitely obviously have more to show. That's for sure. Been practicing that, but yeah, it is what it is. On to ADC though. Another one that you said yourself that had a bit of up for debate. For me, I think a couple could be switched around very, very easily. But I'll let you start us off on what you think.
So I have Mig Refugee at the top, and I actually have Bounce after that, and then Noah after that. Noah having 100 points here, I feel is a bit too much emphasis on scorelines, and not too much emphasis on actually watching the dude play, because I feel like I don't see the other AD carries make the kind of disastrous mistakes that I see Noah makes
Oh,
at
really?
times. I think that he is. I think that a lot of ADCs make mistakes. Don't get me wrong, but I think that the way that AMG plays with a huge focus on getting Noah ahead, like it's a very consistent strategy for them. They do
Hmm.
it basically every time. They pick the guy first, pick Noah every time it's open. If they don't pick that, they pick Kai'Sa, and like they just Peony is ganking his lane over and over again, and they just kind of starting up these 5v5 team fights using Fantasy LoL's vision, and then they just let Noah go off, and he does get to go off quite a lot because the rest of his team is very good, and he is mechanically an incredibly strong player. But I just don't think that I haven't seen him 1v9 at any point. I've seen him pull out 1v5s in team fights after the rest of his team have tried incredibly hard to give him that opportunity, but I don't think he's the best ADC in the league by any means. I think that he's very good, so I've put him at third, but I don't know, man. I haven't seen him make any huge impressions on me that he himself as a solo player is worth that number 1 ranking.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there could be arguments made because the thing I said before was that maybe any of the top 5, 6 AD carries put in the same position as Noah's on his team,
Yeah.
could they carry the same? Now, we don't
Yeah.
know because we haven't seen that, right? So
True.
you can only go off assumption that Noah can do it, can the rest? We don't know. But you're right, yeah, his team do. It kind of reminds me of RNG, where the other 4 members just get slowly rolled under the bus, and then the bus breaks down before the 5th player because the other 4 are stuck under the wheel,
Yeah.
and he's at the end waving like, "Oh, good, I lived."
Oh,
And
sweet. I made it. Cheers, guys.
yeah, it's kind of the same thing. I guess is what you're explaining is that after the 4 of them have had their pan knocked in, and all cooldowns are blown, he's tumbling around, getting a pentakill.
Yeah.
But
I think that it's a pretty clear pattern that I have forming in the way I'm making these rankings, where it's the same kind of story as with Sabbath in top lane, where I think I just really value a player's ability to not make mistakes that cost his team the game or objectives or etc. etc. That's why I think make Refugee is definitely the best. That's why I put Packer slightly higher. I think that those players, as you said, can play their roles incredibly well while also being able to have impacts where available. And I think that players, like especially carries who lose their team the game at times, are definitely punishable, I guess, in
yeah,
rankings.
no, I agree. Like
You
that's the thing. I looked. The thing until about 3-4 weeks ago, I looked at how I played the game wrong. I'm not
Yeah.
banging on about myself, but it's a great example of what you're saying. Is that I looked that because my team was behind, I couldn't afford to take risks because then we'd had no chance of winning, right? When it should
Yeah.
be the opposite. I should be taking the risks because I need to. I need to have my team in the game. It's not always the case. I'm not saying
Yeah.
any team won that's happened, but in some games it does because of the way my playstyle is. In mid's a short lane, you're not going to get as abused as other lanes. Top and bot arguably get far more abused than what mid lane does. And it's a great comparison to what you're saying is that lanes that, say like Packers and compared to Sabbath. Sabbath's very aggro because he feels like he needs to carry the game, whereas
Yeah.
Packer knows his role more. Where it's like, okay,
Yeah.
I'll be down 50 CS, I might lose a tower, but I know my role. I'm just going to press on these team fights, and I know my team's going to be there. And
Yeah.
they've won the majority of the games through that. Now saying that, I was going to ask you this question: coming into playoffs, with basically every team on paper, you can write down 4 or 5 facts about them. You're not going to be wrong on any. Do you think other teams can easily exploit each other when it comes to playing them in playoffs?
I think that AMG is a team that we always think. I think a lot of casters and people watching are very certain that they are exploitable somehow, because in theory you should be able to counter gank bot lane or focus on maybe the mid lane before they picked up Weedfish, and maybe even still, or maybe it's top lane. Maybe that's what I have to do. Maybe I have to just get a big advantage there, and then I can maybe dive bot lane. And there's a lot of people who think like, oh, I'm sure we can exploit this. They play the same game every single time. There must be a weakness in this, and there is. Like, you can just think, oh, this is definitely the weakness. We're going to do this. We're going to go into game. We're going to win. We're going to do this, and it's going to be sick. And then they do it, and they just lose over and over again. They just keep losing to AMG. So I think that in a best of 5 scenario, the data, the statistics say we should be able to exploit AMG because they play the same thing every time, and it's kind of very one-dimensional in a way. very much like we pick a team fight comp, we get nowhere ahead, and then we put a ward down and try and fight over it. And then people just don't seem to have been able to do so. So I'm not sure what the X factor is that AMG has that keeps them from losing these games. Maybe they're all just secretly challenger Smurfs. But I mean, they're I don't know, man. They should be. I think that a lot of teams in this league do favor one style above all, and in a best of 5, you should be able to identify those champions or those types of champions, and then get them out of there and force them into an uncomfortable position. But yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say the thing for me is, to your point, is that closing out a game is always the hardest thing in league. You see from pro play, like I think it was Fnatic G2, right, where they had a humongous lead every single way ahead, and they could not close. Baron, triple inhib, they just kept stalling, and if you think of one of the top teams in Europe is struggling to close out a game with a huge lead, EQ teams, of course, they're going to be the same. So teams get a huge lead in the early game against AMG, and then they falter around division control, around the Dragons, around the early Barons, pushing down the tier 1s. And then all of a sudden they make a mistake, Noah gets a double kill, triple kill, he's ahead of the other AD carry, okay boys, let's team fight, game's done. And it happens so many games to split, and the most exploitable game, I think, was it me, you and Cran that casted it, I think, was Venoshock versus AMG, where arguably the most exploitable game that they had was when Venoshock stopped them.
Yeah.
Where they put the pressure in mid onto arguably a sub. Archie was playing a Jace against Queso's Yasuo. They punished the mid, they got them rolling, they 4-man bot, they had a lead. Mid, bot, won the game. That was
then Noah stepped out of position, insta-died.
And that was it. Because they had the lead to open up the map, they took the lead mid, took it bot. Instead of just focusing bot or focusing top, they took one lead and took it to the other. And that's how you need to play against this team.
Yeah, that does seem, that is the only example, I guess, that I've seen of a
so
team
you could get, it's going to be harder with top lane because TP's and so far away.
Yeah.
But arguably you get a strong winning matchup in mid, and then boom, take that mid lane or bot lane.
I think that's why Weedfish being added to this roster is so scary, because I've been casting him in Square One for 7 weeks now, and honestly, the guy looks like a changed man. He has so very much been a focal point of SDS. When he was on that roster, he was the best player in SDS. I think he was a large part of a lot of their wins, and the fact that he's now on AMG, and that James, who was very consistent, but he was not really the type to win his lane, he was just going to kind of not lose, and that's very good. But having another lane that is going to be pressuring, and Weedfish is not someone I've seen who goes in and over pressures and dies or anything. He doesn't Sabbath it, but like he goes in, he's able to pressure, he's able to take winning matchups, and he plays very well with the jungler. So I think that Weedfish being added to this roster is actually very, very scary for other teams, because it's kind of just patched up that one hole, in my opinion, in this roster, which was the inconsistent mid laners.
Yeah,
as in player-wise.
Yeah, because he, with the champion pool currently as well, with how oppressive it can be, and it also gives you another couple of bans you've got to think about. You know how impressive these like Vlad, Zoe, Silas can be. So another pressure point again, another ban you've got to think about, another player that can't be afford to slip under the radar, and maybe that gives AMG a second carry to their team, while the other three are the support, and act. Maybe him and Noah can just carry a game.
It honestly feels a little bit like Team Liquid dropping Pobella and adding Jensen. Like, they have a really strong bot lane that they love to get ahead, and they have a consistent hyper carry in that they can play around. They have a Rock in the top lane who is incredibly good at playing his role and not throwing away leads, and is able to get some of his own where maybe you wouldn't think so. And then they had this little awkward point in the mid lane that was pretty good, but not really going to win, but he was going to be a consistent force. That was the James Pobella kind of parallel, and then they've just gone, alright, fuck this, let's get Jensen, and they've got Weedfish in here, and I actually feel like that's a pretty close parallel to this, and I'm super excited to see AMG in playoffs.
Need to see if his own hands up to scratch, but
oh yeah,
because that's what I compared FR to what are they called, Misfits. How like you think the team had decent players, but just for some reason just all fell apart.
Yeah.
That's pretty much FR's split, to be honest. But yeah, you can't make that comparison. That would make Igni G2 100%.
I think so.
You've got almost the top players in every single role.
Yeah, it's just all the top players decided to form a team together.
Yeah, and they just want to they try and 3v5 and they can get away with it. That's pretty much.
That's the
so they have G2 versus Liquid. Oh, I like this.
I like that.
That's-
Yeah, early Rift rivals.
Oof.
I'm
So
down.
wait, what would Nox be then?
Uh, I
Oh,
don't know.
FlyQuest.
Maybe actually. Are
Yeah,
they fan
FlyQuest.
favorites? Are they nice people? I don't know. I feel
FlyQuest.
like FlyQuest's biggest like personality point is just how nice all the players are.
But Wild Turtle could be Dan, Agent Lightbulb.
Yeah, I think so
That could be the
actually.
case. Yeah, yeah,
That's it.
that'd be quite good. Yeah, four fun normal team. FlyQuest
Yeah,
are
pretty
pretty
much.
chilled. All right, there we go. So
That's
I'm
alright.
just a quick plug-in. We're going to have another episode tomorrow. Me and Siri and hopefully someone else can join us. We're going to be discussing the last week of the games and upcoming playoffs. So I think we should go through that tomorrow. That'd be quite fun.
Should we
So-
round out with support quickly just before we
Yes,
sign
of
it
course,
off?
of course, yes. So, yeah, Big Sojin coming
Big
into the
Sojin.
league. I think week 4 or 5.
Yeah.
Really just taking over on his mage's bot lane.
Yeah,
Whereas
he is
Zyra's,
definitely a guy who's just a mid lane top laner who is now playing support, and they're like, okay, I'm just gonna play mid lane, but in bot lane, and follow my lead friends, with the Xerath and the Zillion and stuff. Like the guy is super lane pressure, the ultimate lane pressure.
Trolexy should be higher. I agree, Trolexy should be higher, but
Yeah, exactly. I agree with that as well.
Artie should be rank 1, better than Cream Soda. That's from Ventum, his own teammate. So
He shouldn't even be on this ranking, to be honest.
the
Until he can
Croatian,
pick a role, he doesn't get to be on the ranking. That's
the
the rule.
Croatian jungler, speaking up. I believe he hates
Um,
Serbians and Sejuanis. So,
Whoa.
oh boy.
Leaks.
But yeah, a few people were surprised that fantasy was so low.
Yeah,
considering he
I'm
is a
super
support
mad,
team low.
honestly. I'm enraged the fantasy is that low.
I had him second, behind Sojin, just purely because performances aside, just from rank. Yeah, Ferm does take the second spot. You know, arguably a good, like a good support. You could probably put that word in cement. Good, not great, not bad, good.
Yeah, I
Um,
think that the second to third here is almost similar to mine. I have Sneaky Teapot at first, and I have Ferrum at second, Fantasy at third, and then Sojin fourth.
Oh really?
I think,
Why do you have Sneaky Deep at first?
I just think he's really good, dude. I think that this guy works so hard to try and allow his team to win. I think that his Alistair is insane. I think that even just when it comes down to really simple lane mechanics, the guy plays Alistair to a higher level than almost any other Alistair player I've seen in amateur leagues, just in terms of his laning and like using the way he uses headbutts and minions. I think that I just think he's a really, really huge part of any game.
Fair enough. And that, do you think it has something to do with laning with Bounce? Do you feel like
I think it does. I think Bounce is a super strong ADC. I think that Bounce is one of these people who you can trust to make a game-winning play. He's got really good decision-making as to when be in and out, and the two of them play incredibly well together for that reason.
Fair enough, fair enough. And what about the bottom half? You know, Evergen, Olympia, Jupiter. I think Jupiter is. I think he's either. No, he's not AMG's. I think he's Nox's
not
sub
AMG's.
support coming in, something like that.
Yeah.
I think he's one of
have-
the sub supports either for AMG or Nox, but he
Yeah,
was new.
It's pretty similar for me. I have Olympia and Evergen swapped, and I have Sangchi and Jupiter swapped, but like they're that bottom half of the supports is all fairly much of a muchness for me. I think that I don't want to say mediocre. That's mean. Not as good supports. Very much can kind of blend together in terms of being bad, unless they hard int games. If they like a Zyra player or a Xerath player, to call back to Sojin's Xerath game not too long ago, and they literally hard int the game, that's really bad, and that would like secure a bottom place on rankings for me.
Yeah.
But I think that if they all just like play and don't have that much impact, just kind of exist, I find it hard to separate them, honestly.
Fair enough, fair enough. And moving on to the playoffs, team of the split, first, second, third. Just looks strange to look at, to be honest. I mean, you basically have Igni with Noah.
Igni plus Noah, right? Yeah.
And then you have probably the best supportive team in the league. Through
For sure.
the rest of us, through me, Blue, Ferrum, Piney, Sabbath, and then you have sort of a mix of like supportive, carry,
I actually really like the third place playoffs team, honestly.
So, yeah,
I
it's actually.
I think the third place team would beat the second place team
Oof,
in a best of 5. No, no
Ooh.
offense, but
That'd be good. I'd actually like to see. That'd be good. I think that'd be a good game.
and honestly, I don't know about the main playoffs team being as good. I think that this is so it's basically it's Igni but with Noah, and I think that's a strict downgrade for Igni.
Oh, do you
So
think? Oh,
I think it's Igni, but you can't rely on your ADC to not throw the game sometimes. And like this isn't a team that plays around their ADC. They're not used to playing like that. And I think that if Noah is left on his own to his own devices, he's
mhm.
gonna lose more games than wins.
All right, fair enough. Fair enough. Just having a last look. All right. Well, that is going to wrap it up for the playoff player power rankings. Thanks, EJ, for coming on and doing this with me. Hope it wasn't.
So having
It's
me
not
on.
going to be the most
Actually,
exciting
a very
episode
good
in the
chat.
world.
Yeah.
I know, but yeah, we do our best. Just want to provide more content for EQ. Get out there. Good for people to see where they vote. Obviously, the outblasts of where maybe I am and other people. But
I would definitely love to do this again, actually, because
you take it on the chin.
yeah,
But
I like to see how the league sees their own players. I think that's really interesting.
yeah, so well, I'm planning to do a team power ranking tomorrow. There won't be voted or anything. Obviously, the schedule standing's already there. Pretty self-explanatory. So hopefully around 7 p.m. tomorrow,